So I guess we can move on to the next story, which is France rejects World Rugby ban on trans women. So yes, just gonna scroll down. Some trans women will be allowed to play rugby in France as the French Rugby Federation rejects the World Rugby ban, which was a blanket ban, by the way, that would bar all trans women from competing at a elite level. Whilst announcing their rejection, the FFR acknowledged the World Rugby ban, yet cited the fact that it was only advisory, meaning that individual nations could opt to ignore it in favour of the human and civil rights of trans people. One thing to note is, according to Pink News, the steering committee was unanimous in their vote to reject the World Rugby ban and to instead go along their own course of action. However, there are caveats to this. This is not a perfect situation where trans women will be allowed to play as themselves. Trans women, all of them, will be required to have undergone gender confirmation surgeries and have been on HRT for at least 12 months. Now, this is an issue that I've been talking about for a while, and the problem with laws like these is that it quite literally fucks with a person's right to sexual and reproductive health. Trans people have the right to be a parent. And if you've gone through a confirmation surgery, because in this regard is removing the testes are required legally, that becomes harder. Yes, you can always save sperm, etc., but that's a costly procedure. Not everyone's going to be able to afford that. So there's that, and also the hormones. Yes, some trans people on hormones, if they haven't had room for their testes, they can come off hormones and they can actually then their sperm can become fertile again. That's not the case for everyone. So even if there wasn't the surgery involved, it'll still be a game of potentially sterilizing someone. I don't think people have quite thought about this issue. Again, I pointed it out in 2019 because it was an issue that was at the forefront of everything, and it should be a massive fucking outcry because this is forced sterilization. This is telling someone, if you want to pursue this career line, you have to sterilize yourself, and it's something that only targets, in this case, trans people, but also very often intersex people as well. So it's specifically telling a certain demographic in order to receive the same rights as everyone else, you have to allow yourself to be sterilized, which is absolutely fucking horrific.
I haven't really thought about it before, but now that I'm thinking about it, it is really messed up. Right now, I'm trying to work towards being able to pass this accreditation exam so that I can become an actual qualified editor. And imagine if I go and take the exam, right? I finish the exam and they're like, okay, so you passed, but before you can get your accreditation, we just need to remove your ovaries. Mm-hmm. You just, we just need to do that, otherwise you can't be an editor. That would be so fucked up. Like if that happens, the outcry, that would be all over the news. You'd hope there'd be sanctions or something. People would definitely be side-eyeing Australia, like, what the fuck are you doing? But when it's in sport, it's okay for some reason.
It's also specifically who it's against. The fact that it's against intersex people, or it's against, trans people. Like, I'm gonna be honest here, a lot of people wish we'd be exterminated. They see us as a disease. And this is also linked to a lot of ableism and how certain demographics are treated as disposable. The whole research that Autism Speaks is doing into identifying a autism gene, which then can be used to abort people with autism. The whole thing about that is that sets a societal standard, which then allows people to apply the same notion to anyone they view as being, and there is a word that fits here because it's a reactionary word and it's a word they like, anyone with degeneracy. You know, so like, and it shows how all of this system is like interconnected. The ableism that we have that is firmly established allows for people to like look at trans people, look at intersex people being sterilized, and go, "Oh yeah, it's better. It's better for the rest of society if they are sterilized because that way they can't have children and it doesn't propagate." You know. Sorry, I do apologize.
There are also two other issues here I can see. One is specifically because of the attacks on hormone therapy.
Mm-hmm.
If you have your gonads removed, then you require hormone therapy
Or
for
you get osteoporosis.
life. Yeah, for osteoporosis, for what was it, liver damage? I think I can't quite remember. Okay, there was some kind of organ damage as well.
Okay,
wasn't there?
Yeah.
Or cardiovascular. Sorry, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm sorry.
So what we know osteoporosis is an issue.
Yeah. You require it for life. Otherwise, you will get very, very sick and possibly die.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the thing is, unlike cis people who require HRT for trans people is not considered necessary even when it's literally required to live. So with countries attacking trans people's access to HRT, a lot of trans people are probably going to be less likely to want to have their gonads removed because down the line it could get them actually killed. So requiring trans women to remove their gonads in order to participate in sport could literally be dead at some point. Mm-hmm. And it's just not necessary. Your gonads do not make you better or worse at sport. Your genitals don't make you better or worse at sport. It's not. And that's also the other issue I see is it's wrong to force someone to get a reconstructive surgery that they don't want. Mm-hmm. If a trans person wants to keep the genitals they have, they shouldn't be forced to change them. Or if they think that the surgery, even if they do want different genitals, they might decide, I don't like the risks of this surgery. I don't think it's for me. They shouldn't be forced to go through with that. That's really messed up. Messing with someone's body like that, messing with their sex life like that. Mm-hmm. That's a huge issue as well.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with sport. It's not going to make you better or worse at sport. They're just being weird.
All research into finding a correlation between testosterone and athletic ability has not found a correlation. There's no causal relationship there. There's not even a correlation.
That too.
Like, it's just a boogeyman. It's something people throw out there because it's a lie that is being based on, misogyny, like patriarchal supremacy. It's our rightful place at the top of society. That's where the whole fucking bullshit has come from. Literally, the research into the matter has found like no positive correlation between the two. And there was another point I was going to make about this whole thing. Well, first of all, they're going to have to undergo also constant medical testing for their hormone levels because they have to stay on HRT. So that's going to be invasive. On top of this, again, if HRT becomes impossible to get because the trans person is always going to be prioritized under a cis person, they lose their job. So there's also that, they're not even guaranteed the job if HRT ends up becoming difficult to access. So again, they've been pushed through so much to get so little, but for some people it is their fucking dream. So they will push for it because they want to live as people. They just want to play sport.
And also through this, they're going to constantly be attacked every time they excel at sport.
Yeah,
we've seen the situations where trans women will win one time against someone they've previously lost to 11 times. Mm-hmm. And they're cheating. This is an attack on women. Soon, trans women will dominate women's sports. No. Yeah. We can see the numbers.
One woman who lost to a trans woman in this recent time, I've forgotten which state she's from. but she filed one of the anti-trans bills that's trying to go through. Like she's been like one of their like figureheads. As it's been going through, she lost to the trans person. It's still going through, you know. And the fact is, like, there are other people who say, "Oh, I'm absolutely fine if, like, they've started HRT when they were like young. This is what rationality rules went to. I'm fine if they go for HRT when they're young. I'm not okay, like, if they like transition when they're older, um, you know. But then, like, their friends at the same time will be attacking Gillick competence and attacking like puberty blockers and HRT for teenagers and young adults. So again, it's just like they're taking multiple fronts to literally just strip away trans people's rights, their ability to exist publicly. So like, yeah, I'm glad that the French Rugby Federation rejected the World Rugby ban, but at the same time, like it's not enough, you know. Just why do you have to police bodies, especially when it's like, again, it's a team sport, and it's a team sport where you want a range of like different bodies, which, by the way, trans women have just the same as cis men, cis women, trans men, etc. They all have a range of bodies. They're going to find whichever body best suits the role they're doing. So but yeah, it's all fucking messed up.
And of course, throughout the whole thing, Woodford and friends were arguing things like we can't have trans women competing because they're tall.
Mm-hmm.
And there are
Margot Didek, who is like I think 7 foot, or she was 7 foot. Was she
7
8
foot 2?
7
foot 2.
Yeah, 7 foot 2.
Ridiculously tall still.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, like in my first video, I pointed out to Woodford, you can't use averages. Like if you want to argue with the exclusion of trans people, you can't use averages. And then I told him a standard. Okay, a simple rule of thumb is this: if a standard you apply to trans women would exclude any cis woman if applied to a cis woman, and you don't apply it to cis women, that is a discriminatory standard. And that I used in relation to height. If your arguments about height, when applied to cis women, would exclude women like Margot Didek, and you don't want to exclude people like her, yet you still apply them to trans women, that is discriminatory. You're not targeting any anatomical feature or trait or anything else they have. You're just targeting the trans person. So yeah. Anyway, anything else to say? Levi?
Sorry, I'm thinking. Not that I can think of, except like the one thing that I do love to jump with the arguments is people love to mock trans women for being around 6 feet specifically, and not only use that to exclude them from sports, but also just to like degrade them as like, this is proof they're not really women. So I do love pointing out that you're almost exactly the same height as your mum.
It's enough that my dad's smaller. My dad's a few inches shorter than both me and my mum. The neighbours like literally mistook me last time I was visiting for my mum, because I was locking the door to the house. The neighbours are just across from us. They saw someone with the exact same fucking frame with the same style of hair as well, because she's got the same colour hair, etc. And so they like, oh honey, it's like, oh, okay, I'm not, okay. But like, so it is ridiculous. Yeah. And also there's photos, like there's that series of photos being shared around, which shows that for different sports, different body types are like the prime. So the idea that like trans women are just going to completely dominate everything is ridiculous on that level, because like no matter which body feature you pick, there are going to be sports which do not, reward that body type. Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Are we onto something here? I'm close to my dad's height too. Are we on something here? Yeah, potentially. But then again, my mother is Dutch. My dad's
Yeah, that's
English.
the
My
thing.
mother's Dutch. But that's the thing. Like, my cousin, she is really short. So I don't get that. It's just my mum and my aunt are some reason like really tall. It's yeah. It's just
Yeah, every time a trans masc person is short, and every time a trans femme person is tall, people love to say, "I see, that's proof that you're actually the gender you were assigned at birth." And it's like, I mean, puberty does have an impact, but there's also other things. You're really tall, but it's just because you're half Dutch. I'm really short, but I'm shorter than both my parents, so a lot of that is just bad luck with the short genes. Not everything has to be that because we're trans and proving that we're actually the universe has decreed that we're the gender we were assigned at birth. Really, it's just ridiculous. Please, if you're the sort of person who loves to make those arguments, get a hobby.
yeah. And it also is just incredibly sad. Like, I went to I was helping out at my my stepmom's father's birthday party a while back, and one of his friends was an incredibly tall woman, and like my dad was talking to her and everything, and like it comes out that she's like really nervous about her height. She was about 6'5", I think she was.
Oh wow!
Because of like how she's perceived and everything. So it's just really fucking sexism, body shaming bullshit. Again, it hurts everybody.
And it goes back to this thing about where cis women, because of transphobia, just because of the way they are, they're just completely screwed. It's not just if you look androgynous, but also if you happen to be tall, you're just screwed.
If you happen to be tall, if you happen to have hair in certain areas, if you happen to
have large hands or feet,
butt hair, that's it. Cis women don't apparently have butt.
Oh, you're going back to the curly arse hair thing.
The curly arse hair, that's it. I'm sorry. Oh god, yeah. Oh, it's just, yeah.
Anyway. I can't say that's a change I experienced on T. There's a lot more hair, but it did not become curlier. That's a thing I've said. It's on the internet now. I'm sorry.